Welcome to Speak Smart IELTS, the channel where language meets ideas, and where we don't just practice English, we explore the world through it. Today we talk about sustainable food choices topic. I'm Ruby, and today we're diving into Q, something that's not only on your mind but also on your plate, sustainable food choices. Now, before you think this is just another discussion about going vegetarian or cutting out plastic straws, let's go deeper. Because food, the thing we eat every single day, is shaping our future more than we realize. Think about your last meal. Maybe it was a simple bowl of noodles, a burger, or a glass of iced coffee. Behind each of those meals lies a long, invisible chain of farmers, factories, trucks, packaging, refrigeration, marketing, and consumption. It's a chain so complex that most of us never stop to think about it. Yet, every bite we take leaves a footprint, a mark on the environment, on people's lives, and ultimately on our planet's future. When you take that bite, you're not just feeding yourself. You're participating in a global system of production and consumption that has the power to heal or to harm. We live in a time when food has never been more abundant and accessible. Supermarkets are overflowing, delivery apps bring anything, we crave in minutes. But ironically, this abundance hides a deep imbalance. While some of us waste food daily, millions of people around the world still go hungry. And while we enjoy variety, the planet pays the price. Agriculture now uses about half of the world's habitable land, consumes 70% of fresh water, and accounts for roughly a third of greenhouse gas emissions. That means the way we eat today directly shapes the climate we live in tomorrow. It's easy to think sustainability is about technology, solar panels, electric cars, recycling, but in truth, it begins with something far more intimate. What's on our plate? Because food is both deeply personal and profoundly global. It connects culture, health, economics, and the environment. When we make choices about food, we are also choosing the kind of world we want to live in. So what makes a food choice sustainable? It's not just about avoiding meat or buying organic. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the systems behind our food. Let's start with emissions. Beef, for instance, is one of the most resource-intensive foods on the planet. Producing 1 kilogram of beef emits around 60 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent, while lentils or beans produce less than 2. That's a 30-fold difference. The reason lies in biology and efficiency. Cows require huge amounts of feed, land, and water, and they emit methane, a greenhouse gas more than 25 times as potent as carbon dioxide. Multiply that by billions of animals raised globally each year, and you begin to see the scale of the issue. But the story doesn't end with cows. Dairy, poultry, and even certain crops have their own environmental footprints. Almonds, often praised as a healthy and sustainable option, require enormous amounts of water, up to 4 liters per almond in some regions. Avocados, the global symbol of clean eating, have caused deforestation and water shortages in parts of Mexico. So the question is not simply, what should we eat, but how can we eat more responsibly? Because sustainability is never one size fits all. It depends on where we live, what resources we have, and what cultural traditions shape our diet. Let's look at an example. In Northern Europe, eating local and seasonal vegetables might be the best way to reduce emissions. But in tropical regions, where plant-based foods are already the norm, the issue might be about improving farming methods rather than changing diets. For small farmers in developing countries, sustainability also means economic survival, fair prices, access to technology, and resilience against climate change. A sustainable food system must therefore be both environmentally sound and socially fair. It's not just about saving the planet, it's about feeding people equitably. Yet, changing the way people eat is one of the hardest challenges in the world, because food is emotional. It's comfort, identity, and tradition. You can't simply tell someone to give up meat if that's tied to family gatherings or cultural heritage. You can't expect people to pay double for organic produce if they're struggling to make ends meet. That's why sustainability must be designed, not demanded. Behavioral science has shown that people respond better to nudges than to guilt. For example, when cafeterias make plant-based meals the default option, or when menus describe vegetables in appealing ways, consumption shifts naturally. Instead of steamed carrots, say honey-glazed golden carrots. Instead of vegetarian, option, say chef's special with herbs and roasted tomatoes. Words and presentation matter because they influence perception, and perception shapes action. Another crucial step toward sustainability is tackling food waste. About 1/3 of all food produced globally is never eaten. Think about that. 1 in every 3 items we grow, process, and transport ends up in the trash. That wasted food alone accounts for nearly 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing food waste doesn't require advanced technology. It starts with awareness, buying less, storing better, eating leftovers creatively. Some restaurants now turn surplus ingredients into new dishes or donate them to food banks. Supermarkets in several European countries are banned from throwing away unsold food, forcing them to redistribute it instead. These are not just environmental victories, they're moral ones. Sustainability also means transparency. Modern consumers are more conscious than ever. They want to know where their food comes from, how it's made, and whether it aligns with their values. This demand for transparency is reshaping entire industries. Certifications like Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, or Certified Organic have become signals of ethical responsibility. But the truth is, labels alone are not enough. Real transparency comes from traceability, knowing the exact journey of a product from farm to fork. With new technologies like blockchain, companies can now record and share every step of the supply chain, giving consumers confidence that their food choices are truly sustainable. Yet technology is a double-edged sword. While it helps us track, optimize, and innovate, it can also create new inequalities. Large agribusinesses can afford automation, data analytics, and genetic engineering, while small farmers often struggle to survive in competitive markets. A truly sustainable future must balance innovation with inclusion. We cannot build a green economy on systems that leave people behind. The challenge is also cultural. In many parts of the world, status and success are linked to abundance. Big portions, expensive meats, exotic imports. Marketing reinforces this, telling us that more is better, that convenience equals happiness, but true progress may lie in the opposite direction. Eating less, wasting less, choosing wisely. Some call this mindful eating, but it's more than a wellness trend. It's a way of reclaiming connection to our food, to the people who produce it, and to the earth itself. When you start eating sustainably, you realize how interconnected everything is. A tomato grown in your backyard tastes different because it carries a story, your effort, the soil, the sun. It reminds you that food isn't just fuel, it's a relationship. In traditional cultures, meals were rituals of gratitude. People thank the land, the animals, and even the rain. Today, we rush through lunch while scrolling on our phones, barely aware of what we consume. Sustainability invites us to slow down, to see eating not as consumption, but as participation in the cycle of life. But awareness alone isn't enough. Policy must play its part. Governments can promote sustainable agriculture through subsidies, education, and innovation. Imagine if tax incentives favored local farmers using regenerative practices, or if school programs taught children where food really comes from. Imagine cities investing in urban gardens, rooftop farms, and local markets. These are not utopian dreams. They're happening in places like Copenhagen, Singapore, and Seoul, where food policies are aligned with environmental goals. Change is possible when systems and individuals move in the same direction. And perhaps that's the key message here. Sustainability isn't about perfection. It's not about cutting out everything we love or living in constant guilt. It's about balance, awareness, and progress. Every small step counts. Swapping beef for chicken once a week, reducing food waste by half, supporting local farmers, or even growing your own herbs. Each choice sends a signal. And when millions make better choices, systems change. There's a quiet revolution happening, one meal at a time. People are questioning where their food comes from. Chefs are rethinking menus. Farmers are restoring soil health, and companies are reimagining packaging. It's a movement driven not by fear, but by hope. The belief that we can eat well and live well without harming the planet. The power of change doesn't lie in the hands of a few corporations. It lies in the collective daily actions of billions of eaters across the globe. Because when you think about it, the act of eating is one of the most powerful democratic tools we have. Every purchase, every bite, every leftover we choose to save or throw away, all of it adds up. The food industry doesn't just follow market trends, it responds to them. When consumers demand better, producers change. We've seen this already with organic products, with cage-free eggs, with the rise of plant-based milks. 10 years ago, oat milk was a niche item for vegans. Now it's mainstream, served in coffee shops from London to Tokyo. That shift didn't happen because of regulations or moral preaching. It happened because people made small, consistent choices that reshaped demand. Sustainability, in that sense, is contagious. It spreads through example, not enforcement. Still, there's a paradox we must face. The more we talk about sustainability, the more it risks becoming just another marketing buzzword. Eco-friendly, green, natural. These labels are now everywhere, but they often mean little. Greenwashing, the practice of exaggerating or faking environmental responsibility, has become a real problem. A company might boast about recyclable packaging while ignoring the carbon footprint of its supply chain. A product might claim to be organic while relying on exploitative labor practices. To be truly sustainable, a food system must be honest, not just environmentally sound, but also ethically transparent. That's why education matters as much as action. Consumers who understand where food comes from are less likely to be deceived by empty slogans. And that brings us to one of the most transformative forces shaping our future food choices: education. Not just academic education, but food literacy. Understanding nutrition, farming, ecosystems, and the cultural context of what we eat. Imagine if schools taught children not only how to calculate equations, but also how to grow vegetables, cook meals, and interpret food labels. Imagine a generation that sees food not as convenience but as connection. In Japan, for example, many schools include shokuiku, food education, as part of the curriculum. Children learn where rice grows, how fish are caught, and why gratitude before a meal matters. It's simple but profound, because when young people understand the story behind their food, they're more likely to respect it and to waste less of it. Now, let's talk about culture again, because no discussion about food can escape it. The way we eat is deeply rooted in who we are. For some, sustainability means returning to ancestral traditions, cooking from scratch, using every part of an ingredient, sharing meals with family. For others, it means embracing innovation, lab-grown meat, precision fermentation, and insect-based protein. The beauty of sustainable food choices is that they can take many forms. It's not about uniformity, but diversity. What's sustainable in Denmark might not be in Vietnam, and that's okay. The point is to align our habits with our realities. In a world as interconnected as ours, sustainability is not about copying others. It's about finding harmony within our own context. Technology, though sometimes controversial, offers incredible potential here. Vertical farming, for instance, allows crops to grow indoors under controlled conditions using 90% less water and zero pesticides. Urban rooftops are being transformed into green spaces that feed local communities. Biotech companies are developing lab-grown meat that tastes and cooks like the real thing, but requires a fraction of the land and water. Artificial intelligence helps optimize supply chains to reduce waste, while drones and sensors enable farmers to use fertilizers more efficiently. When done right, innovation can make sustainability scalable, not just for the privileged few, but for everyone. The challenge is ensuring that technology serves humanity, not the other way around. Of course, innovation alone cannot fix our mindset. There's something profoundly human about our relationship with food that no algorithm can replicate. The sound of sizzling oil, the aroma of freshly baked bread, the comfort of sharing a meal. These are universal experiences that tie us to one another. In a hyper-digital age, we risk losing that sensory connection. Cooking, in many ways, is an act of resistance against waste, against disconnection, against the industrialization of our lives. When you cook, you slow down time, you pay attention, you taste, adjust, and appreciate. That mindfulness, not just in meditation, but in the kitchen, might be one of the simplest and most meaningful forms of sustainability we can practice. It also helps us rediscover joy in simplicity. Think about how the modern food system often glorifies abundance and excess. Giant menus, oversized portions, endless buffets. But minimalism, in eating, is elegance. A few quality ingredients, treated with care, can bring more satisfaction than a table full of waste. The Mediterranean diet, for example, is celebrated not only for its health benefits, but also for its balance and restraint. Olive oil, grains, vegetables, small portions of fish or meat. It's a model of moderation, culture, and community. You don't need to live in Greece to learn from it. You just need to adopt the mindset that less can indeed be more. And let's not forget one of the most underrated forces of all: collective action. Sustainable food systems don't emerge in isolation. They depend on collaboration between farmers, policymakers, businesses, and consumers. Farmers need fair wages and access to sustainable technologies. Governments need to set clear environmental targets and support responsible innovation. Businesses must invest in circular supply chains that minimize waste and emissions. And we, as consumers, need to keep asking the right questions. Where did this come from? Who produced it? What impact does it have? Transparency, accountability, and empathy. These are the real ingredients of sustainability. It's fascinating to see how food movements are evolving around the world. In the United States, farm-to-table restaurants are reconnecting diners with local producers. In Africa, agroforestry, the integration of trees into farming systems, is helping to restore soil fertility and protect biodiversity. In Asia, community-supported agriculture is allowing consumers to share risks and rewards directly with farmers. Each of these examples shows that sustainability is not a single path, but a network of interwoven efforts, rooted in local realities and shared values. But progress often invites pushback. Critics argue that sustainable food is a luxury, that organic or ethical products cost too much, that ordinary people can't afford to care, and in some ways they're right. There's a privilege embedded in choice. Not everyone can choose where or how their food is grown, but acknowledging that privilege doesn't mean giving up. It means widening access. It means pushing for systems that make sustainable options affordable and accessible. It means recognizing that sustainability without inclusivity is just elitism in disguise. The goal isn't to make everyone perfect. It's to make progress possible for all. As we move toward a future shaped by climate uncertainty, pandemics, and population growth, food security will become one of humanity's greatest tests. We'll need to produce more food with fewer resources, adapt to unpredictable weather, and protect the ecosystems that sustain us. It sounds daunting, and it is, but it's also an invitation to rethink not just what we eat, but why we eat, how we eat, and with whom. If food is culture, then the future of food is the culture we choose to build. Will it be one of exploitation or regeneration, of scarcity or abundance, of fear or hope? The answer depends on what's on our plates and what's in our hearts. Let's imagine for a moment a future meal. You sit at a table, sunlight streaming through the window. The plate in front of you holds food grown locally, prepared mindfully, shared joyfully. You know the farmer who grew the vegetables, the bakery that made the bread, the friend who helped cook. There's laughter, conversation, gratitude. No plastic wrappers, no waste, no guilt. Just nourishment. For the body, the planet, and the soul. That's not a fantasy. It's a possibility. And it begins with small, conscious steps we take today. Because in the end, sustainability is not about sacrifice. It's about alignment. Aligning what's good for us with what's good for the planet. It's about rediscovering harmony in an age of excess, connection in a time of convenience. And the next time you pick up a fork, remember, the world doesn't change overnight. It changes one meal at a time, one choice at a time, one person at a time. The question is not whether you can make a difference. It's whether you choose to. So as you finish this episode, don't think of sustainability as a distant ideal. Think of it as an ongoing conversation between you and the world. Every decision you make about food, what you buy, cook, share, and waste, is a sentence in that conversation. Speak wisely, eat consciously, live responsibly. And remember, your plate is your planet in miniature. What you do with it matters. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. We've traveled through stories of farmers, consumers, and innovators who are reshaping the way we think about food. Sustainable eating isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, intention, and respect for the planet that feeds us. Every small choice you make, from buying local vegetables to reducing waste, carries a quiet, powerful ripple that touches lives beyond your own. The future of food doesn't depend on governments or corporations alone. It depends on each of us, on our forks, our habits, our voices. So next time you sit down to eat, take a moment. Think about where your food comes from. Think about the soil, the rain, the people whose hands made it possible. Then take a bite and know that you are part of something bigger, something beautiful, something that connects us all. Thank you for spending your time with Speak Smart IELTS. If today's episode inspired you, share it with someone who cares about good food and a greener world. Remember, smart speaking starts with smart thinking. Stay curious, stay mindful, and I'll see you in the next episode.